Welcome back to the Artisan of Glimmith. Right where we left off, I spotted this just at the end of last episode. And here we are. Shape bank, we have big L's and little 2x2s, Gemini and Delta. So, okay. How to go about this one? Ooh. Notes. If that is a 2x2, then this is a 2x2. Which means that this, that, and that would have to be different, so that would not work. Okay. So this is not a 2x2 here. If this comes down this way, then this must go that way, so that this is different. And then there's that. Now this here has to be different than that, so it would be the 2x2, and this would do that, which would mean this one would have to do that to match it. And this would have to do that to be different. This has to be different than that, so it would be a square, matching that one with the Gemini. And this would be here, like that, all that matches. And this would have to be the 2x2, which matches here. And this right there is that, and that one works. Okay then. I can start that with that. Now, I don't remember how any of that went, but I know that this is part of this big L. Whoops. Like that. And I know this is part of the big L, and this is part of the 2x2. So that goes like that. Now this is a 2x2. This is a 2x2. There. There. That. That matches that. This is is the L. This is not. And it's finished. That is the end of the Gemini and Delta window region. Can't do that. Okay, that is the next section. There's that. And then there's that up there. Well, this is just a message. Esteemed artisan, I apologize for the preponderance of constraints I've laid upon your work. Many further rules are yet to come. This area is optional. You may proceed as soon as 4 windows are complete. I commend your diligence and persistence. Yours truly, Elias Vitamus. Now it has opened these. Okay. I have one window, the Rose windows, the Gemini and Delta windows, the Glimmith Overlook windows, the Glimmith Bridge windows, all the way back. So I have 4, which means I can just skip the whole area, which is apparently everything up to that, I guess? Possibly including that? I don't know. No, it wouldn't be including this because this said I can move on as soon as I've done 4. And I have already done 4, which means there would have been something beyond this to do. Okay, then. Well, let's see what we have in these. Shape bank. All regions must be this shape. It's a refresher course. That shape. This shape. This shape. That shape. And there. 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 Whoop. That. That. If it stops here, then this is the smaller side. I'll take this side first. Maybe I should take those, though. Yeah. Let's do the ones in the doorway. This is my progress window. Let's do these. All regions must be this shape. That. If this came out here and did that, well, that would break everywhere. So this must take that. Now, I know it has to take that. And if it were to do this, I'd have too long here, which would not work. So it does that. Now, because they can be rotated and reflected, this could be there or there. It doesn't cross that barrier. This one, if it was that, this would be invalid. So it's doing that. This one cannot take that and that. It must be that. So there. Now these. These. Okay. This has to be the same as this. Otherwise, it just does not fit. I don't know if it's going to take that or that. So let's look over here. If this one came out like that, this one would take that. And what I would have here would be like that, which is obviously the wrong shape. Therefore, this does that, then this does that, and this one does that. We can do that, that, and that. Okay, we have S. We have a big S. This cannot be something like that, because that would mean that we had this mess here that this shape could not fit into. That would just be completely broken. Therefore, it also can't be that, which would leave us with that and that. If it is this, that also leaves that. So it must be those, and then coming up here and taking that. And I believe that from there, this is going to solve itself. We have to fit that C around it and then have that little tail for the F. Like that. There's another hole here. Does that mean there's one hiding below? We'll find out later. Get this too. Ooh, all regions must be 3 by 4. So I can start with that. Here, this must be 4. This has to go all the way across. Therefore, it can't be part of that. 3 by 4. 3 by 4. Now this one has to go that way to fill it in. And another one. This one here, which cannot go up here without breaking that area. So it comes over here. And this is going to just solve easily. Just based on limiting 3s or 4s. There. Okay, now that's the classic F pentomino. If it went like that, could do that. That. All of this is fitting together very neatly, just like that. What does check progress do at this point? You haven't started solving. Okay. Everything entered so far is correct. And that's it. Okay, I think I'm done with the check progress. Get out of my way. These are not yet open. This one's from the last one? Yeah. Which, okay, I must have to go over here then. Well, have to is a bit strong since it told me I can just skip them all and move on. But I want to finish the window. I only need 3 more to get the window itself done. And then it's a matter of gilding. On larger puzzles, guessing can get you into big trouble. Only color shapes that you know for sure. Right. Everything is little L. Guessing can get you into trouble. This one has to come out here and go that way. This one has to come out here, which means it must go that way. I don't know what happens here yet. Yes, I do, because there are several ways it could go, but they would break it. That would leave that. That would leave that. That would leave that. It must be that. Now this one must be those. That has to do that. This has to come out here. This one must take that and that. So this one does that. Now I see this is going to have to do that, but let's go here. I know that that's there. I don't know which way it goes. This one has to come out. This one has to come out. This one must be there. One of these two takes that. Here we have this 2x2 again. Just like up here, there are several ways to break it. and only one way to do it without it breaking. Now this corner can't come 2 up, so it must just do that. Which tells me that that one does that, this does that, this does that. We have that one, this one. Now, if this went that way, we'd have an L here and a 3 by 1. So this does that. Yes. And then there's that one and that one. What does the sign say? There's a 2 and a 3. Let's do the 2. Ooh. This shape here must be connected to that and that. The only way that that makes sense is if it's this, that, and that. Therefore, we do that one. Now, this one has to come out, and that has to be this one. If it were facing this way, it would. If this can't be the hole, I'm saying. Okay. Now, that's just a little bit more. If these were the 2 that are together, I'm looking at them and thinking they're feet of some little animal. If those were the feet and the head were here, then none of this would work. Therefore, what it is that. Which means this one is here. That one is there. This is all gonna just come together. There. There. That. And then that. Now I can move on to this difficulty 3. There's a bunch of others farther in that are probably, there's a 5 there. There's a 2 there, but this one is, yeah, that one was up these stairs. Is there something under that? Yeah, okay, do this one. All regions must be 3 by 1. Well, that's that then. And that. Okay. Uh-huh. This has to go that way. This has to go that way. Then there's that, this. That keeps going. There's that, and that, and that, this, that, whoops, no, that's one too far, there. This right here has to do that one, that, another. This one must go that way. So there, there. That one goes like that. There. Here and here. Ooh. These. That. Then there's this, that, and those. Back to the bank. Shape bank. Shape bank. Okay. Let's see if I can get in one more easy one here. All regions must be W's or L's. That has to come out, and if it took that, that would break, so it takes that, and if it then took this and that, that would be broken, so it does that. Here's another one, and then there's a W there. I know this one does that, and this one does that. Let's take notes here. If that's an L, that breaks. So this one, a W and a W, yes, that all works. And then an L. I think I can get one more in. All regions must be one of these shapes. 3, 2, and cross. A 3x1, a 2x2, and a cross. I know that does that. In fact, it does that. It cannot go any farther. And it can't take the things to either side of that one. Now, that means that this one has to take at least that. It cannot be a cross because that would go off. And if it took that one, this would break. So it takes that. Which means this is the cross there. That must take that and that. Which means it is that. Here, it's gotta be a 2x2. Here, that is again a 2x2. Now, this right here has to take care of that and that, which makes it a cross. This one has to come out here. This one has to come out here. This one has to come out here. And it's going to end with 3x1 and a 2x2. Okay, that is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.